The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Bethel, Alaska, on your new fire apparatus, job number 30856. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start down at the front bumper area. First, starting underneath the apparatus, you'll find two open-ended tow hooks. Moving on to the face of the apparatus bumper, you'll find dual air horns on the passenger and driver side. Located directly in the center is where your electronic siren and PA speaker are located. Up onto the top of the bumper is where you'll find a tubbed storage location for hose storage, and also you'll find your mechanical siren. Moving over to the left on the body outer edges, you'll find your turn indicator marker. Moving just inward of that location, the headlight cluster, housing the low beam on the outside and the high beam on the inside. Up from that location, in the next cluster up, you'll find your turn indicator and a forward-facing emergency light. Moving up onto the seamless one-piece windshield, you'll find 3 windshield wipers. As we move all the way up top for the brow, you'll find 5 running lights. Located in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. Located on the passenger and driver side roof, you'll find emergency warning lights. We'll talk a little bit about some of the ladder components in the next set of images, but here are just a few images of your ladder in the next set. Here's that front discharge. This is capable of foam and water. It is a swivel 1.5 inch discharge. Close-ups here of the headlight and emergency headlight clusters. As we referred to the ladder earlier, let's talk a little bit about this device. By a simple turn of this, releases the mechanism to allow the ladder waterway to be stored at a lower setting. Moving up onto the top, you'll find forward-facing lights, and down at the base, you'll find your electronic nozzle. Let's move over to the driver's side. On the driver's side, you'll find your auto charge system. This is a Kusmal Electronics auto charger. When plugged into shore power or your shore inlet, you'll be activating the Kusmal charger. This is a 20 amp auto charger, auto eject plug. Next to it, you'll find a side-facing emergency light. Moving up onto the side of the apparatus, this is just past the portion of the cab, you'll find this warning label regarding entanglement hazard. Hose does come off the top and could be an entanglement hazard, so be cautious of that. You'll also find your number 1 and number 2 crosslays. They are foam and water capable. They're yellow and white color coded. You'll also find the 2.5 inch crosslay, which is also water and foam capable. General view here of the pump panel. We'll talk a little bit about that as we get into the great details here of your pump. Let's start first in the upper left-hand corner. This is the specifications for your Husky 3 foam system. Next to it in the red section is your foam section. This is your Husky 3 foam module. There's also a schematic and instructions there, and also an indicator for your tank level for foam tank A. Into the gray area, you'll find your master intake and master discharge. Located in between the two of those gauges, where you'll find your test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. Moving all the way over to the far right-hand side, still within the gray area, is your pump boss. We'll talk about that in a little bit more great detail in the next set of images. Moving just slightly to the right, you'll find the audible speaker. There is the ability to dampen that sound by turning left or right. Let's move down to the minimum operation maintenance schedule. This is the placard that gives you some information, but we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail also. Let's also move on to the front discharge. This is purple in color, color-coded. And as we move further to the right, you'll find your number 1, number 2, and 2.5 inch crosslays. Those are all water foam capable. In the center, you'll find your pump gauge heater. It's automatic. Moving to the right, you'll find this chrome panel. This is the switches that control each of those individual discharges for CAFs. Moving further to the right, you'll find your aerial discharge. And as we move down to the very bottom, this is the compressor for your CAFs system.
Moving further to the right, you'll find your internal relief valve. This is an adjustment, either negative or positive. You can increase or decrease the pressure in the valves accordingly above that. Moving further to the right, you'll find your number 1, number 2, and number 3 discharges. These are all 2.5 inch, color-coded and labeled. The number 1 and number 3 odd are going to be on the driver's side, and the even will be on the passenger side. Moving to the right, this is your large diameter passenger side discharge. This is the placard regarding the type of pump and model that you have, Watrous. And then up in the upper right hand corner, there is a set of switches, panel lights. You will find a pump engaged indicator, generator on and off, and pump compartment heater. There's also further to the right, which is your engine cooler. This is a twist, not a pull. And then there's also a warning label here regarding it's not advised to ride on the side of an apparatus due to falls. Moving just beneath that, you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line. And underneath in the blue section, this is your tank water level from full, 3/4, half, quarter to refill. Flashing red indicating near empty. On the right side, you'll find your fire pump primer, and it is a push to prime. And then just beneath that, you'll find your tank to pump. Let's go over a couple items here. This is your Husky Foam System 3. You can see the foam specifications and instructions and also a diagram. Master intake, master discharge. Let's now move all the way to the far right, and we'll talk a little bit about your pump boss. First, if illuminated, it'll be a yellow or amberish color check engine light. Moving to the right, if indicated, you'll have a stop engine light on that will be red. Moving further down, you can find in the blue section, this is your menu to select through the menu. And then as you move further down, you'll find the pressure and RPM selector. And then you'll also find a digital readout in between. There is a ready throttle or throttle ready indicator, and that is on the right side indicating in green. You also have the ability to pre-select presets, and that's the green indicator on the right. The throttle is the large black knob. If you need to go to idle for any reason, you can push directly in the center. And on the far right, you'll find that speaker for your audible alarm. Let's move over again and look at the switch area. Once again, you have your panel lights. Just beneath that, you'll have a pump engaged. Once your pump has been engaged, this will illuminate. You have a generator on and off and a pump compartment heater. To the right, the engine cooler. Let's take a quick look at some of those other items. First, on your left, this is a CAFS warning. Please follow the instructions on that CAFS system. As we move further down, you'll find your CAFS air outlet. And then further to the right, this is your draft foam tank and then the inlet at the very bottom. I would like to advise that only trained personnel operate your apparatus. That's the warning label just beneath that. At the very top, you'll find your number 1 driver's side discharge. That's a 2.5 inch. And you'll find your number 3 2.5 inch discharge. There's also a possibility of pressurized caps. This is a warning label regarding be cautious when opening caps, for those could be under pressure. Once again, here's that thing to seek the owner's manual, and only trained personnel should operate this apparatus. Just beneath that, you'll find a danger label because this is a aerial. There is likelihood or possibility that you could engage in electrical wire overhead. Moving down, you'll find your Pierce maintenance schedule. We'll cover that in a few minutes here in the next set of images. Just beneath that, or just to the side of it, you'll find your 2.5 inch auxiliary inlet and the large Pierce logo, American flag eagle, large diameter intake. We also have some generator operating instructions. There's the information right here on the right-hand side. We'll talk a little bit what's behind this pan covered door, and then as we move further down, we'll talk about some of the drains. This is for your manifold and driver's side inlet, and then there's also another pan door. We'll talk about what's behind that next. In the upper right-hand corner, you have your pump drain and also your manual pump shift. Let's move down to the pan door with the latch on it down at the very bottom. This is going to be your foam fill location. So we're going to leave the handle in horizontal position. There's an emblem on the left-hand side. To fill, you're going to move to the vertical position. Once you're done filling, please make sure to restore it back to its original horizontal position. Let's talk all the way to the left side of the pump panel. You'll find your Pierce information regarding the maintenance schedule. This is the 150, 200, and 250 PSI test pressures. You'll find the GPM on the left-hand side, and then you'll find the RPM associated when you reach those test pressures at 150, 200, and 250 PSI. Also, there's also the job number in the upper left-hand corner of this placard. Just underneath the pump panel is where you're going to find your foam pump discharge drain and also the foam pump intake drain. General view, side of the apparatus with your department logo. Let's go ahead and move to the very first compartment. This is going to be on the driver's side. Once the compartment door is open, you'll find you've got a pull-out shelf on the very bottom, and at the top where the arrow was indicating, you'll find your generator information. Let's take a close-up look at some of those. First, this is your alternating current. The two indicators are pointing at fuses. As we look down at the very bottom, this is your G1, which stands for generator 1. This is the first panel. As we look to the side of the apparatus, we'll find a stabilizer location for your camera. And then as we look just underneath that stabilizer camera location, you'll find this panel door, which houses your DEF 4.5 US gallons. Front and rear of the rear axle, you'll find location storage for bottle storage for SCBAs. And then just on the back side of the rear of the rear tire, you'll find the location for your ultra low sulfur diesel, and this is a silver cap. As we move to the side, you'll also find emergency light on this chrome panel. Just beneath that, you're going to find this information regarding danger and warning for crush hazard and also electrical conductivity. Please make yourself aware of those items. Let's go to the rear compartment in the apparatus. This is going to be on the driver's side. The black lever here on the guides, this is the actual mechanism to release to pull that shelf out. Underneath, you'll find your two folding wheel chocks, same on the opposite side for location. As we move in between the ladder that drops down, you'll find this inclinometer from 0 to 15 degrees. General view here of the rear of the apparatus, and we'll break down some of the components within the rear area of the apparatus. First, let's start with the brake, turn, and reverse lights. We'll move up from that location. There is a small round insetted switch here. This is for your scene lights. As we move to the very top, once again, you'll find that danger regarding electrical conductivity. And as we move further down, you'll find two rear-facing emergency lights. And then let's just move inward of that location. You'll find this warning label regarding pressurized caps and associated hazards while under pressure. You will find these two warning labels regarding when using those two attachment points that you not pull upward. Located in the center, you'll find your large diameter intake or aerial intake. This is going to be the gauge for your aerial inlet. Moving to the right, you're going to find this pan style door. Behind it is going to be the aerial drain. We'll have some images of that in a few moments. And then you also have side to side inclinometer. Let's move up from that location to the left and right side of the apparatus is where your ladder storage is. As you move down below to the two smaller doors, these are going to be your outrigger stabilizer controls. Once again, the very top, ladders, the very bottom, small compartments, those are going to be your outrigger controls. Let's move further up onto the top of the apparatus. We'll find once again two warning labels here regarding entanglement hazards from those hoses coming off the rear. Just be cautious. As we look at the very top of the apparatus, we will find your traffic advisor. Moving further up onto the top of the body is where you'll find your reverse camera. And then moving to the outward edges of the apparatus, you'll find those two scene lights, which are controlled by that switch. And at the very top, you'll find your emergency warning lights. A couple of close-ups here of some of the items that we just talked about. I'll go over those just as a side view of the apparatus. Let's go back to the rear section of the apparatus. You'll find your department logo, Bethel, Alaska Fire Department. And then let's move to those individual items. Inside that roll-up door, you will find this access panel requiring you to remove those 5 stay locations. The very top, backup camera, traffic advisor, and also some running lights. Just below, you'll find left side, you're going to find your extension ladders and also roof ladders and also long pike poles. Once again, deck lights control. As we look into those small compartments, you'll find first on the left side, this is going to be your diagnostic interface, and you're going to find an override, emergency hydraulic power, and your level assist. There is a green indicator at the very top. You also have your driver's side and rear stabilizer controls. As we move to the rear section, this is the large compartment at the very bottom of your apparatus. You'll find your emergency aerial overrides. These are all of the overrides associated. There is an image of exactly which one of those levers that you'll need to activate. There's also a warning label down at the very bottom that only trained personnel that have reviewed the operations manual should operate this. Here's the aerial emergency power or stabilizer emergency power. You'll select whichever one that you're going to be operating. Close up down at the lower section of your apparatus, and then we'll move just inside that pan door. Once again, this is your aerial drain. On the opposite side, you're going to find extension ladder, and also you'll find pike poles from 8 to 12 feet. As we move to the passenger side, same configuration as the opposite side with that rollout door, rollout base pan actually, and the mechanisms on the lower right. Same thing, you've got 2 locations for bottle storage on the passenger side. And as we move through some of the other items, I would like to remind you that that is a moving hydraulic section, and be cautious of the crush injury when moving. Also, once again, that electrical conductivity for danger in that area while operating your aerial ladder. This is the passenger side camera for your stabilizer. As we move to the next compartment forward, you'll find that pull-out shelf with the release mechanism down on the lower right side on the rollers. You'll also find a push button here for activating the cord reel rewind. Let's go ahead and take a look underneath the rear section of the apparatus. Is where you'll find on each side those stabilizer pads. As we move to the front section, mid-section of your apparatus, you'll find once again warning label. We'll talk about what's behind this pan door in the next set of images. I will go through some of the items here. As you see, once again, pressurized cap warning label. And then as you move further to the right, this is going to be your cab lift. There are specific instructions on that, and make sure that you secure everything within the cab prior to operating. On the far left, you're going to find your large diameter intake. That's the Pierce logo American flag eagle. On the right, you'll find the Storz connection here for your green large diameter discharge. To the far right, you have a 2.5-inch discharge, and at the very bottom, you're going to find your strainer drain, and also to the far right, you'll find your levers for all of the individual labeled drains. Let's go ahead and take a look in the large pan door that we originally talked about. This is going to be your flow transmitter, and then on the very right side, the cap area, this will be your strainer just behind that cap. Generalized view here, once again, large diameter, 2.5-inch, 2-inch number 2 passenger side discharge. Here is the cab instructions. It is a protected switch on the raise and lower, and then the other switch is to activate the motor. Once again, lower section, water strainer is a twist, not a pull. The other 2 are levers. As we move through some of the pictures here, I would like to point out in the very back section of the apparatus, there is a hydraulic indicator here for high and low that will fluctuate when the apparatus is in use for ladder. And then on the right hand side, you'll find this small device. This is a magnetic device indicating that the ladders are properly stowed for those ones that climb up to the aerial area. On the left hand side, we're looking at the pedestal now. Once again, warning labels here regarding crush and electrical conductivity. The very top of that is going to be your speaker to communicate with the person at the tip. There is also a black audible speaker in this location that has the ability to damper. In the upper corner, we'll find this red emergency stop. We now have the pedestal lid open. You'll find your deck lights, also ladder illumination lights, and aerial speed for normal or fast, and then your hydraulic emergency power. On the right, the large screen is your MUX screen that will display a tremendous amount of information. The next section is broken out in 3. First, about your nozzle, whether it's stowed properly, and then you have nozzle control, and then all the way to the far right are your ladder controls for extend, retract, right, left, and lower and raise. On the left-hand side of this compartment, on the very bottom side of this compartment is where you're going to find your calibration and aerial manual controls. Let's move all the way to the left-hand side here to the lid. That's what I wanted to refer to next. As we stroll through some of these pictures, this is going to give you information regarding the Ascendant's capacities. So let's go through those real quick. First, you have waterway dry with a 35 mile an hour wind, and then you also have waterway charged with a 35 mile an hour wind. Those are the varying egress, fly, mid, upper, lower, and base for the amount of weight that you can have. Underneath, you'll find monitor positions and also those flow rates. There are some asterisks down here at the very bottom I would like to familiarize yourself for. For example, icing is one of those that you need to refer back to the owner's manual. You'll also find specifications for setup per NFPA on the left-hand side. And on the left-hand side of the ladder, just next to the pedestal, is where you'll find your inclinometer from 10 negative to 0 to 80. At the base of the ladder, you'll find ladder storage. You have a 4-section ladder. On the outer edge, you'll find a roof ladder. As we move all the way up to the top or close to the front section there, you'll find your steps that drop down for operators for standing, and then you'll also find compartment storage. Let's go through some of the tip orientation stuff. First, this is the operation for your Acron nozzle. This is for your stream, whether you want to move right to left, up and down, or the different size of the stream shape. This is going to be your speaker system or intercom, and then this is just a general view of your Stream Master 2. As we look to the individual ladder itself, you can see on one side you have ladder, on the other side you have equipment storage location. As we're now in the dunnage area, this is going to be for your CAFS system. This is the compressor for your air actuated CAFS. There is a water fill on the top and also a foam A fill at the very top. This is the foam A for your foam tank. As we move through some of these items, I would like to point out there is a hydraulic oil fill. It's kind of hidden down in the lower left-hand corner, a little bit closer. This is the hydraulic oil reservoir. Generalized view here of your dunnage area. You can see hose on the right and left-hand side for storage. Let's move inside the cab now. Rear section of the apparatus. There are 4 seats in the back, 2 forward-facing, 2 rear-facing. All of them house SCBAs for easy access. As we look overhead, you'll find push-on, push-off red and white lights in addition with your air conditioning unit. Let's move to the front seat right side. You're going to find first in the upper right-hand corner down low, you're going to find the fill location for your windshield wipers. There are also instructions on the doors for wearing seatbelts and warning labels, and then on the dash itself, mechanical siren, USB charging station, and also a push button for your air horn. As we move back to that area again, here's your mechanical siren and the 2 barrel style 12-volt access points. Overhead about the center, you'll find your PA speaker and also siren control. As we move to the very center, you'll find this Pierce module. Red indicating that someone is in the seat but not belted. Green indicating they're in the seat and belted. As we move just further on the dash area, let's cover some of the other items. There are future locations for additional modules if needed over the officer seat. Let's move to the driver's seat first. At all points of entry for doors, you will find these warning and hazard labels. You'll also find down at the right ankle area additional information regarding warning and hazard labels. I'll talk about the yellow placard here, manufactured by Pierce, in a few moments, but just in the doorway you'll also find an air inlet chuck. This is to maintain air pressure within your brake system. On the left, once again, seatbelt information, all of the warning labels combined in one. You do have 4 electronic windows. These are the controls for the driver's side. As we move down to the foot pedal area, you'll find a mechanical foot pedal for your mechanical siren. As I move back to that ankle area, right ankle, you'll find this manufactured by Pierce. This has the year of manufacture, gross vehicle weight ratings, tire inflation. It also has the VIN number, and then it also has all of your fluid capacities and the types of fluid required by the manufacturer. Let's go about left knee for the operator. This is the quarter turn silver battery switch, master battery switch. To the right, you'll find your engine transmission and ABS diagnostic port, and then below you'll find ABS, DPF regen, engine diagnostic, and then your regen inhibit. Moving to the right knee area of the operator, you're going to find your pump, road to pump, and pump to road shift indicator. You'll also find 2 lights that will come on, one pump engaged and the other OK to pump. Let's go ahead and move to the far right. On the dash area, you'll find your main mirror and convex mirror controls. And on the left-hand side of the dash, you'll find the ignition start switch. You'll also find the 2 smaller switches, or 3 switches here, one EM emergency master, headlights, and panel rocker switch. On the opposite side of the column, you're going to find your OK to engage the high idle, and then the actual switch, which will light up green, indicating that the high idle has been activated. Let's take a look at the components. You're going to find transmission oil DEF level and water temperature. You're going to also have in the center your tachometer and speedometer. You'll have fuel gauge, volts, front and rear air, and then you have two diagnostic screens above and below the tachometer. Let's move forward. You'll find the camera system. This is the monitor for the camera system for your backup and also for your outriggers. We'll go through some of the switches here. This is your aerial master, aerial generator PTO, PTO engaged indicator. You have a generator on and off, a air horn, electric horn selection switch, in red, a siren brake. Moving to the right, you'll find your windshield wiper wash. That is a push. And then if you turn right and left, that will control the speed of the windshield wipers. Also in this same area, you'll have an engine brake on-off switch, settings for low, medium, and high. Stabilizers not stowed, that's a red indicator so you don't move the apparatus. Front wheel lock, mirror heat, and load manager. Let's move down just from that location on the left, your system parking brake, pull to apply, push to release, and then you also have your transmission pad. Climate control for heat and defrost, heat and AC. Overhead of the operator, you don't see it in this image, but on the very far left of the emergency master is where you'll find this placard. This is the height, length, gross vehicle weight rating, and also the job number. You can see 11 feet 9.38 inches in height, length 39.4, and gross vehicle weight at 56,300 pounds. That's from the manufacturer as it rolls off the assembly line with no adjustments. Overhead, you're going to find the emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning. When each one of these switches is activated, you will see a green indicator that comes on with the individual switch. In the front, you're going to find overhead of the operator, you'll find your front flood, driver's side flood, passenger side flood, and then the deck lights, which is also controlled from the rear, and two future switch locations. Moving further to the right, you'll find your traffic advisor. Also on the A post of the front of the apparatus, driver's side is where you'll find the VIN number. Looking to the rear, two forward-facing SCBA seats. Let's look in between the two rear-facing SCBA seats is where you'll find your daily checks for oil and transmission, and there is a light within inside this compartment. Behind the seat of the driver, you'll find your battery tender. Congratulations, Bethel, Alaska, on your new fire apparatus, job number 30856. If you have any questions as to the content of this video or further information needed, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Congratulations.